It's a special place. This canyon is absolutely unique in the world.
Taking people down rivers like the Rogue is a business venture for Oregon River Experiences. It's also a place their employees love. So twice a year, their Rogue trips are a little different. In return for a reduced price trip, participants agree to help clean up along the river. Owner Ken Bassinger says it's not a moneymaker, just a way to give something back.
No, we run this as a non-profit trip, and the people who come on this kind of a trip are here because they have a special interest in contributing to the environment.
While everyone has an interest in preserving the river environment, not everyone has much experience on the river.
Okay, good, Bill. Come on across here.
Never rode one before.
Bill signed up because he'd heard so much about the Rogue.
Oh, the scenery here is absolutely unbelievable.
Heard so much about the Rogue.
Oh, the scenery here is absolutely unbelievable.
He wants to help with the cleanup, but he's also looking for a new experience.
A little excitement, something different, a little more of an adventure than sitting around the house.
For the inexperienced boaters to help with the cleanup, they first have to get through the rapids. That's the job of lead guide Dan Geyer.
Stay in. Right oar. Pull that right oar. Just the right oar by itself. Just the right oar. Other right oar. Right oar by itself. There you go. Just the right oar.
After safely negotiating the rapids, it's time to start looking for trash. Mostly that stuff left by careless campers, but especially in the spring, they spot all kinds of debris. Old tires are a common find, apparently dumped in the river by inconsiderate people upstream.
Okay, no critters in here that we don't want.
Good. Extra points for white.
Okay.
The tires and trash are hauled out on the guide rafts.
Okay. Oh, here's another can.
But nowadays, garbage isn't the biggest problem. It's campfires.
I'll show you what to do with a fire pit here.
To keep campsites as net as possible and to reduce the risk of fire, the Forest Service asks all campers to use fire pans to haul the ashes out, just like garbage. But judging from the number of fire rings we saw, not everyone's cooperating.
Is he getting a plastic bag for us?
I think so.
The volunteers try to erase any evidence of the fire pits.
The rocks, we just kind of scatter around to try and return them to their natural environment and make it a little more difficult for the next guy to make a fire ring.
While fire rings are numerous, Ken has noticed that campers are getting more conscientious about not leaving trash.
Generally more and more responsible. The education efforts that the Forest Service puts in when the boaters pick up their boater passes and permits is making a lot of impact, a lot of difference.
The permit system started in 1978 in an attempt to reduce crowding and damage to campsites. It strictly limits the number of people using the protected section.
Approximately 120 people per day entering the wild section, which begins down at Grave Creek.
Ken Vines is in charge of handing out those permits at the Rand Ranger Station. There was a lot of opposition when the boater limits were adopted, but he thinks they have worked and the public is more supportive now.
And we've made this turnaround where people seem to have said, yes, we realize that some restriction is necessary if we want to try to keep those special places a little bit special.
There is still controversy about how the permits are divided up.
The allocation is 50% non-commercial and 50% commercial.
Some private boaters say it's not fair to reserve half the permits for people who can afford to take a guided trip. The number of rafters is rising, so now a private boater has only about 1 chance in 9 of getting a permit. Motorized boats are prohibited altogether on the wild section of the Rogue. Tourists can take jet boat rides down from Grants Pass or up from Gold Beach, but the boats cannot enter the protected section. That leaves only 2 ways to see the wild section of the Rogue Canyon. Floating down, as our party is doing, or hoisting a backpack and hiking the 40 miles on the trail that parallels the river. The cleanup crew is doing its part to keep that canyon beautiful, not letting rainy weather stop them from picking up garbage.
I think that's it for the glass. There's still more styrofoam.
Here's Ken.
Most of the debris appears to have been left by campers or dumped in the river from an overturned raft. But it's hard to imagine where some of the stuff came from.
Oh, here's a light bulb. That's wonderful.
Another couple of buckets of trash to haul out of the canyon. And there's more of the ever-present fire rings to remove. Of course, the trip is not all work. There's plenty of time for fun. On the river, boaters get the excitement of running the Rogue's famous rapids. Sometimes there's almost too much excitement. This raft, although not part of the cleanup group, provided an anxious moment as we watched it nearly capsize at Blossom Bar.
He's losing it. He's losing his angle. He's gonna go over the picket fence. He could be in trouble. Oh man, high side. They could get stuck in there a lot. Shoot. Okay, tell you what.
By scrambling to the high side of the raft, they avoid turning over and escape with no bigger problem than losing an oar.
These oars following him.
In camp, the rafters get a close-up look at deer and other animals that live here all year.
Not like cows, you can't moo at them.
Nearby, there's history to explore, including an old ranch now full of artifacts from the days of mining and logging on the Rogue. A short walk up any of the side creeks provides beauty and tranquility. And for the adventurous, a natural water slide provides a slippery thrill. In this group, there were more watchers than brave souls willing to take the plunge into the cold water. And whether it's a work trip or a pleasure float, the magnificent scenery and abundant wildlife is a feast for the eyes.
Want to secure stuff? Watch here, going trash. Two of us can take it. Okay. Expect those raw.
Once out of the roadless section, the work party can unload the garbage sacks from the rafts. A BLM crew will drive to this point to haul the trash away.
Look out below! Coming down.
The river trip was so much fun, it's hard to feel too virtuous about the cleanup. This group knows they left the Rogue Canyon a little nicer than they found it. And Dan believes their efforts will have a ripple effect on many more people.
Just the fact that you've been out here on a cleanup trip, and you go home and you tell friends, yeah, I was on the river and we did a cleanup trip. It was great. We picked up all these tires and things. Just that, psychology is going to go a long ways.